Hey there, just wanted to share a story that one of the 13 stories of Reb Nachman. I'm sure many people have heard it before. He has, it's called Siprei Maasiyot. It's the stories that he gave over pretty close to the end of his life. He told us, Hasidim, I see that my Taras are not having an influence on you anymore. So I'm going to start telling you stories. And then he started with these 13 stories. So one of them is called the story of the son of the king and the son of the servant maid. It's a story of a queen and one of her head servants that were pregnant at the same time, and they gave birth at the same time. The midwife was just wanted to see what would happen if she switched the two babies, and she took the baby of the servant maid and she gave her to the queen, and the baby of the queen to the servant maid. So the baby of the son of the actual son of the king grew up in the village, as a simple person, and the son of the servant maid grew up in the palace. And they grew up, and the word eventually got around. The midwife told her best friend, and she told her best friend. The word got around, and later on, when the king was older, one of his closest people came to him when he finally became king after his father passed away. So the prince became king. His closest minister or whatever came up to him and told him, "Listen, I have to tell you something. I know there's nothing we can do about it now, but I just thought you should know because people in the kingdom are speaking about this, and who knows? One day they might decide to get together and try, kill you and get rid of you, because everybody feels." And he told him the story that's going around, that they really switched him at birth, and he's really not the true son of the king. He's the son of the servant maid, and son of the king is so and so. And when the king heard this, he started doing all kinds of awful things to the son of the king, doing all kinds of things for his father, to make him lose his business and bad things. At a certain point, his father realized that the reason the king is doing this is because of what's going on, because of this news that's going on in town, and that must be the reason why he's doing all these bad things to him. So he told his son, that he's going to have to leave, and he gave him money and whatever, and sent him off. And the whole story, I'm not going to go into the whole story. It's a long story with a lot of details. But he goes off, and he's very, very upset. He feels like, what do I deserve this for? If I'm the son of the king, and it's true what everybody's saying, then for sure I don't deserve this. And if I'm the son of the servant maid, then what did I do wrong? There's no reason why I should be kicked out. And he went out, and he fell into drinking, and fell into prostitutes, and completely fell. And then he would have dreams. And the whole story basically goes through this whole process that he went through until he came back at the end to his kingdom. So this idea, just if we could take, there's so many things that it's connected to. Reb Natan expands on it in the Likutei Halachot. He brings this, connects it to Yaakov and Esav and the brothers selling Yosef, and then it's connected to so many different things, because it's basically the general idea of this story is there's a million, explanations, but one of the simple ones is the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, which we mentioned earlier, that the Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara is is the good thoughts and the bad thoughts, negative thoughts and the bad thoughts. And what it means is that the son of the servant maid he's the Yetzer Hara, and he's growing up inside the palace, right? That's who's inside. Chazal say that the person is born with a Yetzer Hara, and his Yetzer Tov only joins him when he's 13, when he has his bar or bat mitzvah. That's when his Yetzer Tov comes in. So he's called, the Yetzer Hara is called Melech Zaken. He's old. He's 13 years. 12, 13 years before you. He has a head start. So he's the one who grows up in the palace, right? And he's the king. But there's always this, this word going around that, this Lashon Hara going around that really you're not the king. The true king is the one that grew up in the village, right? So this is the body and the soul. Right, so the body, who's king, the person has just the Yetzer Hara, and he just wants to have fun and play, and little kids how they are until they until they finally get a little bit of chokhmah, and they start learning Torah and start keeping Torah mitzvahs. By the time they're like 13, 12 or 13, they become a man and a woman, right? They're ready to start serving Hashem. So the Yetzer Hara, the taivas of a person, his physical body has like a huge head start. It's like king. By the time a person gets to his bar bat mitzvah, when he's ready to start keeping Torah mitzvahs, already like his physical body, his taivas, his things, everything is really strong from within him. So a person grows up in the world feeling like who's the true king? The true king is my Yetzer Hara. Those negative thoughts that I have, that's That's who I really am. People don't realize that, when I'm thinking bad thoughts, when I'm thinking thoughts that are, against, against the Yetzer Tov, against the Torah, against thinking bad thoughts about other people or negative thoughts about myself, people think, because they've been doing it for so many years, they think that I'm the one thinking those thoughts, me. And that's complete sheker. That's the son that was switched. That's the son of the servant maid that's growing up in the palace, and he feels like he's king. But really, it's not like that. The emet is that that is all thoughts of the other side. Like, for example, if a person, doesn't keep Shabbos, right? Doesn't keep Shabbos. He sits in his house, he watches TV on Shabbos, he does whatever he does, he doesn't keep Shabbos. And so he feels like he can't keep Shabbos because he feels like, he feels far from Hashem, and that he's gotten so far away that he feels that he can't get close to Hashem. He's not worthy to get close to Hashem because who am I? I'm this person that does, X, Y, and Z. I'm this person who doesn't keep Shabbos and drives on Shabbos and eats non-kosher or whatever it is. He thinks that's who he is. So it's Reb Nachman's teaching the secret that really that's not who the person is. The person needs to uproot those thoughts and realize that his true essence is the son of the king. Yeah, he grew up in the village, and then he goes out and he gets kicked out of the kingdom. The Yetzer Hara, the taivas, the physical body takes over completely. A person feels like he has no control on it, and then he goes on a journey and he falls, and because of that, he falls to prostitutes, and he falls to alcohol, and he just wants to run away from everything that has to do with anything spiritual, right? But at a certain point, he's always getting these irei tshuva. He's always waking up and getting these, how can I return? Because every person has deep from within him, like a yearning, a burning to want to get close to Hashem. He's like on fire, it says in the Zohar, especially in the end of days, that, like Rav Shlomo made a niggin on it, that there won't be a hunger for the bread and for the water, right? There'll be a hunger for Dvar Hashem, which is like the pnimiyut, the secrets of the Torah, and this is one of the reasons why Reb Nachman gave over not just very, very deep Torahs in the Likutei Moharan, but also these stories that we know come from a very, very, very high place. It's called Sipurim Asiyot Mishanim Kadmoniyot, from days way above. Reb Avram Reb Nachman explains that these stories come from they're the shoresh of the Torah. So you have the Shivim Panim, the 70 faces of the Torah, which means the Torah we have down here, right? There's this whole physical world that was created through the Torah, like it says Hashem looked through the Torah and created the world, and then there's above this entire creation there's another world. That's one pan, and that is basically the spiritual source of everything physical down here. Every little physical thing in this world is just a manifestation of that spiritual light that's beaming down, and over here it translates into something physical because it's lower. So that's the first pan, and then above that one there's another olam, another whole depth of the Torah, and that one is beaming its light. It's more spiritual, so the one below is more physical compared to that, and then there's our world, and then it goes up and up and up and up until Shivim Panim, which is the 70 levels of the Torah. Each one is like a filter that's filtering and coming down, more physical, all the way down to our world, which is the most physical one, the most Gashmi. That's why it's called Asiyah. So above those 70 levels, those are the Siprei Ma'asiyot Mishanim Kadmoniyot. They're the shoresh, the root of all the Shivim Panim of the Torah. So it's something very, very deep. Avraham Nachman speaks about it, and it's whatever. I don't even know what it is, but it's something very, very high. So Reb Nachman started revealing these stories because he realized that we're going to get to such a place. He saw, like he sat in the carriage with Reb Natan and Reb Naftali and another two Hasidim for 3 hours and gave over 2 or 3 hours, gave over the entire in detail how it's going to be until Mashiach comes. So Reb Nachman Mamish saw this generation, and that's why these words, these Torahs that he gives over, they apply so much to what people are going through in this generation, even though a couple hundred years ago it didn't apply. Maybe it applied 20%. It was just the Tnuat HaSkala, it just started, like, it was just the beginning of the beginning, and today it's like people are in it, so strong. So people have fallen to such places where they feel so far from Hashem because that son of the servant maid is in the palace and he's king. He feels like he's king. He's taken over completely. So a person needs to remember that right now you're kicked out of the kingdom and you're going through that forest and until you get to your to wherever it is that you get. There's this whole journey that he takes, the son of the servant maid. After he goes on his journey, he goes through the forest and meets a forest man, and like there's this whole tikkun he does until he finally comes back and becomes king again. So as long as a person, basically what a person needs to do is remember that even though right now I feel like the Yetzer Hara has taken over completely and I'm so far, and how can I step before God? How could I serve Hashem if I'm like this and like this and like that? A person needs to remember those machshavot, those thoughts that he has, that he thinks that, the way he acts and all the bad things that he does, that's who he is. He needs to remember that's not who he is. That's not who he is. He doesn't even have, in this generation, Rav Gudlevsky even says a person doesn't even have freedom of choice. We're in such a situation where like, it says, Lo taturach elevavchem, don't look at things you're not allowed to look, right? Men need to guard their eyes and not look at women that aren't dressed modest and so on, right? So the Rambam says that the halacha is, a woman needs to stay in her house, and if she has to go out for certain things, she should wear like, a tent, basically like a skirt that's like a tent, so Rav Gudlevsky says, this is what the Torah meant when it said in a situation like that, so don't, protect your eyes, keep your eyes holy. But Rav Gudlevsky said in our generation where it's exactly the opposite, like there isn't, that's something that you saw somebody wearing like a huge shawl, it looks like somebody that came from a different planet, right? What are they doing over here in LA? I saw one person like that. Anyhow, right? So it's gotten to such a place where people are anus, they don't even have a choice in the matter. And that's just one example, and it applies to everything. There's so many things that he's not just the son of the servant maid is king. He's king. He's conquering the world, right? So a person is in his hands, and he feels like his taivas and his Yetzer Hara and his the physicality is just taken over and consumed him completely. And it's true, it has. But he has to always remember that's not who he is. He's the son of the servant maid that needs to go on that journey and go through his ups and his downs and always remember, this is who I really am. That little thing I could do, I grab something good, I do another mitzvah, I light Shabbos candles. Whatever it is that I can grab, I grab, which means back to the person who doesn't keep Shabbos. I'm not keeping Shabbos, I'm watching TV and so on. It doesn't mean that when I come out of the bathroom I can't wash my hands and say Asher Atzar. I'm not lying to myself. That's who I am. That is my essence. My essence is Kedusha. And it's not soter, it doesn't contradict one another. Just because I'm not keeping Shabbos, it doesn't mean that I can't still be holy. And my little nekudot, my little things of holiness that I feel like those things I can still do. Okay, so I'm not keeping Shabbos, but that doesn't mean I can't make Kiddush. It doesn't mean I can't do this, can't do that. There's all kinds of things that we could do from within that whole day of Shabbos that we can grab, and we should do it. And we should remember that that's who we really are. Everything else that I do that I know is not the right way is only... That's just because I've been consumed by this son of the king that took over the kingdom. And Bezrat Hashem, slowly, it's a whole process. The story tells the whole process that the son of the servant maid, who grew up in the village, he's truly the son of the king, right? He goes on this journey, but at the end, he comes back. And what does it depend on? Depending on not giving up, not falling to that drinking and the prostitutes and going completely off the derech. As long as a person remembers that he could get back, but as long as he just holds on to whatever it is that he could according to his vessels and his strength right now, he holds on to those things, that this is my essence, this is who I really am. And Bezrat Hashem, through that, he slowly gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and will come to his shleimut and his tikkun. And Reb Nachman says through that, when a person strengthens himself in those downs, in those difficult times, he can mamish come to full tshuva completely. Because when it's all about just uprooting that twisted thought of that servant maid who's in the palace that thinks he's king. He's really the king. He's really who I am. That's not who I am. It's not who I am. I thought right before Shabbos to share that because I think it's very important. A lot of people get confused with who they really are and who the Yetzer Hara is. So their essence is only the machshavot tavot, the positive thoughts, the good deeds, the helping people, the sharing. Anything that has to do with those things is all who you really are. That's your essence. Everything else is not who you are. It's all the Yetzer Hara and it's all the tests, right? If there's anyone who knows what we're going through, right? Hu yadai yitzleinu, the pasuk says. Hashem knows our Yetzer Hara. He knows what we're going through, and Hashem is El Rachum V'Chanun. He's so merciful, so merciful. We can't even There's no understanding on the level of mercy of Hashem. I was thinking, why are there's 613 mitzvahs? A lot of people always ask, why is it that, there's 365 don't do's and then there's 248, do's? Why is so many things are, restricted? You can't do this, you can't do that. No, it's not. It's the exact opposite. It's coming from the chesed of Hashem. When I put on tefillin, when I shake a lulav, when I keep the laws of purity, whatever it is, these things, it's a mitzvah, right? It's a mitzvah d'oraita. It's a mitzvah from the Torah. It's keeping Hashem's ratzon. So God gave us, because of His level of mercy, He gave us 365 ways to get close to Him by not having to do anything. Just don't do something. It's not like, okay, now you have to go build a sukkah and you have to do this and do that, right? Those are all the dues, the 248 dues. But you have 365 ways that you can connect to Hashem and keep a mitzvah from the Torah by what? By not doing anything. Just don't do that. Just don't eat this. Just don't go there. Right? So it's actually coming from the chesed of Hashem. It's the biggest mercy that Hashem knew our Yetzer Hara. He knew we're going to be down in a physical world and it's going to be a hard test. So Hashem gave us lots of ways, more ways to get close to Him by not having to do anything. Anyhow, we should have an awesome, amazing Shabbos, and the week should be strong week going in, and remembering the Nekudot Tovot and just strengthening each other with whatever little chizukim that we can give each other throughout the week. We should always remember that we never know what other people are going through. If you can throw someone a text of a little, you're amazing or whatever, and give a phone call, whatever, strengthen people. It's so important to remember that, to help people out and not just be on your own. We're all going through a hard journey, but if we can strengthen each other, that's the Ikar. Good Shabbos.